It was supposed to be just another cold December evening, the kind where the world outside seems wrapped in a silent shroud of fog and frost. The sun had dipped beneath the horizon hours ago, and in the dying light, the old Wexley Asylum stood, alone, its silhouette jagged against the sky, like a blackened scar on the landscape. Overgrown vines strangled its brick walls, and shattered windows stared out like hollow eyes. Locals never went near it. They said the land itself pushed people away. Cole Matthews, a freelance documentarian obsessed with forgotten places, had read about the asylum in a dusty forum thread buried deep online. "Do not go there," one comment read, "something still lives inside." That was all the push he needed. A challenge, a mystery, perfect for his YouTube series on Abandoned. Locations dot with 2 cameras, a backpack full of batteries, and his best friend Mason reluctantly tagging along. Cole ignored the warnings. They parked the car a quarter-mile down the road, the last place GPS would work, and hiked through the fog-draped trees, their breaths steaming in the cold. What drew them to Wexley wasn't just the thrill of trespassing or urban exploration, it was the silence, a suffocating, almost unnatural quiet that seemed to thicken the closer they got. And once they crossed the rusted gate, the door creaked open, as if someone had been expecting them. The Wexley Asylum had been closed since the winter of 1974. Official records blamed budget cuts and failing infrastructure, but old newspaper clippings hinted at darker reasons, staff vanishing without explanation. Patients found wandering the halls at night with self-inflicted wounds and eyes wide open, whispering nonsense to the walls. Eventually, the state boarded it up and erased it from maps. Most people in the area acted like it had never existed at all. Cole had always been fascinated with places like that: abandoned hospitals, forgotten schools, train tunnels, choked with graffiti and shadows. He called it urban archaeology. His followers called him brave. Mason just called him reckless. "You know we shouldn't be here, right?" Mason muttered, brushing cobwebs from his jacket. He was taller than Cole, lean and pale, with dark circles under his eyes from too many sleepless nights. Cole, by contrast, was enthusiastic, camera strapped to his chest, flashlight in one hand, wide grin under his beanie. "That's why we are here," Cole said, panning the camera across the cracked entrance hall. "This place is pure atmosphere. Look at it," and it was something to behold. The interior was eerily preserved, paint peeled in curling sheets from the walls. A rusted gurney sat abandoned in the corridor, one wheel bent, as if someone had tried to drag it in a hurry. Graffiti covered parts of the interior, though less than one might expect, almost as if others had come in and left quickly. The air smelled of mildew, old copper, and something else faintly metallic and sour, like dried blood and mold. "Why does it feel like we're being watched?" Mason whispered, flicking his flashlight toward a cracked mirror. The reflection was warped. Their faces looked wrong in it, stretched, slightly delayed. Cole ignored the question. "Come on. The records room is supposed to be down this hallway." They passed through collapsing door frames, their footsteps crunching on fallen tiles and broken glass. The building groaned around them, wind moaned softly through broken window panes, but sometimes the sound seemed different, rhythmic, almost like breathing. They found the records room half collapsed, file cabinets tipped over. Paper was strewn across the floor like leaves. Many were faded, illegible, but some were still readable. Yellowed sheets detailing patient histories, handwritten notes from doctors, and something else. Mason picked up a leather-bound journal, half covered in dust. It belonged to a nurse. Her entries began normally: shift reports, patient moods, but over time, the tone changed. She wrote about things in the walls, how patients screamed about figures in the vents and voices at night. The last few pages were barely legible, smeared with ink and something darker. "They said I can't leave, they follow me home. I can feel them in my dreams now. There's no more difference between night and waking." Cole recorded every word. "This is gold," he whispered. "Pure nightmare fuel." They pressed deeper into the asylum, curiosity outweighing fear. Down one hall they found the old electroshock therapy room, a grotesque display of medicines past. The metal table had rusted through, the straps still attached. A broken helmet lay nearby, wires, like veins, curling across the floor. Mason stared at it too long. "Let's keep moving," Cole said, noticing his friend's sudden silence. In another hallway, they found the children's ward. Toys still littered the floor. A faded mural of stars and smiling suns smiled from the walls, but something had been painted over it in a frantic scrawl. Red letters, large and smeared, written with something thick. "Make them stop whispering." They didn't speak after that. They just moved. Slowly, carefully. Cameras rolling, flashlights growing dim. Cole checked his backup batteries. All dead, he muttered. Mason didn't respond. He was staring at a small, padded door at the end of the hall. Not a normal room, a seclusion cell. As they approached, a sudden chill washed over them. The temperature dropped not metaphorically, but truly. They could see their breath again. The fog from outside was somehow seeping in beneath the door. Do you hear that? Cole whispered. Faint, like static. No, not static. Whispering. Dozens of overlapping voices. All around them. Mason backed away. We need to go. Now. But Cole couldn't move. The door at the end of the hall slowly creaked open on its own, revealing nothing but darkness inside. His camera began glitching, red bars across the screen. A voice crackled from the audio, low and raspy. You finally came. The hallway. Lights flickered, though none had worked until now. The darkness in the cell seemed to spill out, like liquid shadow. They turned to run. The hallway behind them was gone. It was no longer the same asylum they had entered. The hallway had changed. The cracked walls were no longer covered in graffiti. The floors were no longer littered with debris. Everything was cleaner, as if time had reversed itself. No dust, no cobwebs, just the smooth, polished linoleum of a freshly sanitized medical facility. Cole blinked hard. Are we in a different wing? Mason didn't answer. He was slowly turning in place, scanning the impossibly sterile corridor they now stood in. Don't think this is the same asylum anymore, he finally whispered. A chime rang somewhere above them, gentle, soft. It echoed as though from far away. Then a female voice crackled over an intercom speaker, distorted and monotone. Visiting hours are now over. All patients, return to your rooms. There were no footsteps, no nurses, just silence after the announcement, and then clicked behind them. A door slammed shut. Cole tried to record, but the screen on his camera was black. Nothing worked. All batteries, even backups, had drained completely. Mason, Cole whispered. We need to go. Now. They ran. Turned corners there shouldn't have existed, past rooms that hadn't been there before. And the layout wrong. Everything was wrong. The blueprints they had studied back home didn't match this twisted, living maze. It was as if the building was shifting behind their backs. Doors they came through disappeared when they looked back. Signs pointed in contradictory directions. One said exit with an arrow. Another said restricted, do not enter. Both pointed the same way. At one point they passed an old nurse's station where a typewriter was clacking away by itself. No ribbon, no paper. Just the keys hammering air. Suddenly, Mason stopped. Did you hear that? Cole listened. A soft, dragging sound, far down the hall. Then a giggle, childlike, hollow. Cole moved forward slowly, flashlight trembling in his hand. There's someone here. Don't, Mason said. We should not go toward that sound. But Cole already was. The sound came from a room with an open door and frosted glass window that had the words therapy group be etched into it. Inside, chairs were arranged in a circle. One was rocking slightly. A small tape recorder sat on the center chair, playing something quietly. Cole stepped inside. The tape clicked, rewound, and began again, a voice, whimpering. He comes when we forget the words. He comes when we scream too loud. He wears no face. Cole's breath caught. Mason, you should hear this. But Mason wasn't behind him. Cole turned. The door was gone. Literally gone. The wall where it should have been was now solid concrete. Mason, Cole called out, panic rising. Silence. Then dash, another voice from the tape recorder. This time deeper, closer. You should not have come. Cole backed up. The chair stopped rocking. The flashlight flickered violently, and for a split second, Cole saw something, a figure behind the circle of chairs. Very tall, gaunt, wrapped in what looked like the shredded remains of a nurse's uniform. Its face wasn't there, just skin stretched tight over where eyes, nose, and a mouth should have been. He blinked. Gone. Cole turned and slammed against the wall, pounded it, screamed for Mason. Somehow, the wall gave way, not opened, gave way. Like it melted. He fell through it, landing on filthy tile in another corridor. This one was decayed again, back to the version they entered hours ago. Cold, wet, stinking of rot. And ahead of him Hassan, standing perfectly still, facing the far wall, shoulders stiff. Mason. Cole ran to him, grabbing his arm. Where did you go? You vanished. Mason turned slowly. His eyes were wide, pupils pinpricks. I heard them, Mason said, voice shaking. They whispered things about you, about me, things they shouldn't know. Cole tried to shake him out of it. Don't listen. They're trying to screw with us. But Mason didn't respond. He just pointed down the hallway. Do you see that? He asked. At the end of the corridor, a door stood ajar. A faint light flickered behind it. They approached cautiously. Through the half-open door, they could see a small room, a patient's room, numbered 307, a metal bed bolted to the floor, rusted, a dresser, overturned, and something scratched into the wall above the bed, dozens of times. "Let me owe you tea." Beneath it, the mattress bulged oddly as though something had been stuffed beneath it. Cole reached forward, pulled it back. There was a body, long decayed, skin mummified, dressed in a hospital gown. A patient ID bracelet still clung to the bone-thin wrist. The name was mostly scratched off. All but one word remained. Matthews. Cole froze. His last name. What the hell is this? He breathed suddenly. Mason screamed. Cole turned to see the door had shut again. Mason pounded on it from the other side, shouting, "Cole, I'm locked out." But Cole was locked in. The lights went out. Darkness pressed down like a weight, and something began moving beneath the bed again, scraping, dragging, as if it hadn't been dead after all. Cole dropped a flashlight. The beam rolled, landing on the bracelet again, and now it didn't just say Matthews. It said Cole Matthews. Then the mattress began rising. A figure slowly unfolded itself from beneath it, its limbs wrong bent, bones cracking as it moved. It had Cole's face butt stretched, rotting, its mouth far too wide. Cole screamed. The door burst open. Mason pulled him out, dragging him down the hallway. Cole was sobbing, half delirious. "We have to go," Mason yelled. They didn't stop. Not when the walls began bleeding. Not when the lights exploded above them one by one. Not when the ceiling seemed to breathe. Every exit was gone. Every staircase ended in a drop into blackness. Every hallway looped. They were inside a maze that fed on fear. At one point, Cole dropped to his knees and began sobbing. "I think we're dead," he whispered. "I think we died and we don't know it yet." Mason didn't answer. He was staring at the ceiling. The tiles had begun to fall, one by one, revealing faces above them, pressing through the material, thousands of them watching, smiling. Then, just as suddenly, they turned a corner and found themselves back at the main entrance. The double doors, once sealed by rust and time, now stood wide open. A voice behind them whispered, "We let you see." That was enough. They didn't question it. They didn't look back. They ran out into the night air, into the woods, to their car. When they finally reached the vehicle, neither spoke a word. They sat in silence, headlights off, until sunrise. Footage they recovered was corrupted. Back at Cole's apartment, they loaded the SD card into his desktop. Most of the files were static, some wouldn't open at all. Others showed glitching, stuttering images of places they didn't remember entering. A hallway with beds lining each side, each occupied by a still figure beneath blood-stained sheets. A room filled with mirrors that reflected things that weren't them. One short clip looped endlessly. Mason standing completely still in front of a black window, mouthing something silently, his eyes completely white. Cole scrubbed through it. "Frozen, we didn't record this." Mason didn't respond. He was sitting by the window, staring at nothing, hands trembling. Since they'd returned, he had barely spoken. "It's like it followed us," Cole said, barely above a whisper. That night, Cole dreamed of the asylum, but it wasn't a memory, it was real. He walked its halls again, barefoot this time, unable to speak. The silence inside the dream wasn't just quiet, it was aware, like it was listening. In the dream, he found himself outside room 307 again. The same mattress, the same corpse, but this time, the corpse opened its eyes and whispered, "You let me out." Cole jolted awake in a cold sweat. When he turned on the light, there were wet footprints on the hardwood floor, leading from his closet to the side of his bed. The next morning, Mason was gone. His phone still sat on the table. Wallet, keys, shoes, everything left behind. The front door locked from the inside. Cole filed a missing persons report, but the police found no sign of forced entry or struggle. He probably just needed space, the officer said, but Cole knew better. He went back through the footage frame by frame at exactly 2 hours 17 minutes and 43 seconds. In a shot where he's pointing his flashlight down a hallway, a figure stands in the distance, barely visible in the darkness. Not the faceless nurse, not the childlike shadow, it was Cole. But it wasn't just a reflection, it was him. The exact clothes he wore that night, but smiling, gone, calm/motionless. Watching the timestamp on the file read, March 18th, 1973, decades before he was even born. In the days that followed, things changed in subtle ways. Objects in his apartment weren't where he left them. He'd find messages scratched into fogged mirrors when he got out of the shower. "Where did you go? You're not done yet." One morning, the nurse's journal from Wexley Asylum appeared on his kitchen table. the same one Mason had read. Its last page had been blank before. Now, something new was scrawled in frantic handwriting. He escaped his room. He took Mason's voice. He's wearing your skin now. Cole stared at it for hours. And that night, the dream came again. But now, he was in the bed in room 307, bound, gagged, screaming through bloodied teeth as a second version of himself stood over him, calmly adjusting a name tag on his jacket. Dr. Cole Matthews, Wexley Asylum. The other Cole leaned in, placing a cold hand on his forehead, and whispered, "We needed you back." He woke up with bruises on his wrists, identical to the ones in the dream. Cole tried to upload the remaining footage to his channel, desperate to prove what had happened, but the files wouldn't transfer. Instead, his computer screen filled with one line, over and over, "You were never supposed to leave." He yanked the cord from the wall. Silence returned, but the silence felt familiar now, like the asylum's silenced alive, breathing the next night. His phone lit up at 3:07 a.m. A message ready. "For your next session. No number. No sender. Just the time. 3:07 room 307, and from the corner of his room, just before the light bulb shattered, came the sound of dragging footsteps and a whisper. "Now it's your turn to watch the door." Cole stopped posting online. His YouTube channel, once updated weekly with abandoned explorations and urban legends, sat frozen. No new uploads, no live streams. His last post was a community message, taking a short break. Stay curious. His followers speculated, burnout, contract work, or another hidden location. But there were no sightings. No one had heard from Mason either. Cole's apartment remained untouched, rent paid, lights on a timer, everything clean and orderly as for one detail. A notebook sat open on his desk. Not a nurse's journal this time, but one of Cole's own. Pages filled with drawings, circles of empty chairs, hallways that twisted into themselves, and eyes, dozens of eyes without lids. The final page was marked with one phrase, scrawled over and over in shaky black ink: "You never leave the asylum. The asylum leaves with you." Sometimes the neighbors heard footsteps inside his unit, slow, deliberate. But when management checked, the apartment was always empty. Far from the city, deep in the woods near Wexley, the asylum still stands, still, rotting. Still watching. Some nights, if the fog is thick enough, travelers say they see a faint light flicker in a third-floor window, like someone pacing with a flashlight, searching for a way out. A few swear they hear a voice calling through the trees, muffled, distant, like it's coming from underground. "Please, don't close the door." But no one who goes looking finds anything. And no one who steps through Wexley's rusted gate ever truly comes back the same. And if one night you dream of a door with the number 307, whatever you do, don't open it.